It is the final word IPL Whamageddon with Ben Jones. This is my first segment on it. So the idea of Whamageddon has been that first Adam and also me at the same time have been not specifically avoiding, but seeing how long it would take to see a ball of the IPL. I still haven't seen a ball of the IPL either, so I feel like I've done my part. Not only that, I haven't even listened to all of the segments that you've recorded with him about the IPL. I have listened to a couple of them, but not all of them. So I feel like that was investing. So I'm coming to this newborn. I'm without original sin as far as the IPL goes. It's and some people think it's strange to see this as a virtue. It's not necessarily a virtue. It's just that there's too much cricket and we can't watch it all. So this is the cricket we've decided not to watch, and this is why we're talking to you, because it's the cricket that you do decide to watch. Ben, welcome back to the show.
That was a roller coaster of an introduction. There was
It's good.
negging. There was negging that you don't listen to me. There was a brief detour into the YouTube comments. There was something for everyone there. Thank you for having me back. I did wonder at the start of this whether or not we'd be able to sustain Adam and your interest in the IPL, even
Yep.
indirectly, for the duration of its several year long tournament. But we're still there. We're about halfway through, and we are. You're still inviting me on. The link is still working. I'm waiting for the error 404 day when I
Yep.
click through, and it's just you are no longer connected to this person. But we're not there yet.
I think that it's worked in that I'm actually a little bit excited to find out. I've avoided finding out for so long that now I'm thinking I'm actually interested. What is happening? I know that there are a number of teams. I don't know who's doing what. I don't know where they are in relation to one another. I know that there was a very fun game that you enjoyed last week, because I did hear that bit about a low score being defended. But we're doing this in terms of the structure of an over. We've got 6 deliveries for you to bowl, the 6 balls that you think should be bowled about the IPL in the last 7 or 8 days, however long it's been since you last did this show. Over to you. What's ball 1?
Right, ball one. To give you some context, top of the table are 2 teams tied on 6 wins from 8 games. One of them is Delhi Capitals. We've spoken a lot about them in the last few weeks. We've gone through why they've been successful, why they're
That's the Ricky Ponting one.
No, that's Punjab Kings. Fair
Oh,
play.
they're
You have
Punjab
come
now.
straight off the bat with some ignorance just to prove your
Good.
credibility. I
Yep.
respect it.
It was
No,
the
so
Ricky
Delhi.
Ponting one. It was
It
the
was
Ricky
the Ricky
Ponting one, but he
Ponting one.
moved. Okay.
It was, but he's up sticks and gone over to
Yep.
Punjab. This is Delhi Capitals
Yep.
with KL Rahul at the heart of the batting,
Oh,
and with
yes.
Mitchell Stark at the heart of the bowling.
Okay.
But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the team that are joint top with them, which is Gujarat Titans, because they are class. So
That's the
they have
Justin
done
Langer
something
lot.
that is not the Justin Langer.
That's
I
luck
love this.
now. He's luck now.
This is great. But this is great because already we're diverging because Adam
Yep.
accepts his
Knew some
ignorance.
stuff. Yeah.
He just lets it wash over him. I'm not
Mm.
convinced he's always necessarily listening, but
No.
you've immediately tried to impress me, which
No, I haven't.
as always.
I just liked guessing. It was just fun. It's just fun to have a go, you know?
You know what it is normally? I think Adam's also in more of a rush than you. So,
Yeah.
so
That's true just
good.
in general, yes.
Also true. The man is frenetic. Top of the log, 6 wins from 8 games. Gujarat Titans. They
Hmm.
are led by Shubman Gill as the
That's
captain,
right.
and they are doing something rather different to what we've seen. So last year in the IPL, it was Sunrisers Hyderabad and KKR get to the final, and they're both playing, 6 every other ball, trying to
Yeah.
basically go at a million miles an hour. They were playing cricket from the future. Gujarat are
Mm.
still scoring runs, but it's old-fashioned cricket because all of their runs come from the top 3 of Sai Sudarshan, who I think you've had on the show before,
Yes. Friend of the show.
Shubman Gill alongside him as in the opening berth, and then 3 is Joss Butler. So you've got 3 guys there
Oof.
who are scoring statistically more of their team's runs than any team in IPL history. They like the actual bulk of their runs is
Right.
almost entirely coming from those top 3.
There's never
And
been
it's
such a concentration in the top 3.
precisely. And I mean, when you look at the players, it makes sense. There are only 3 guys in the last 3 seasons who have batted in those top 3 positions, averaging over 40 and striking at over 140. And it's those
Okay.
3 guys. So
Right.
Gujarat have basically gone and scooped up all of these amazing kind of anchoring batters and put them all together and said, fine, we don't really need a middle order. We don't really need hitting at the back end. We're just going to do it all with the top order, and it's working ridiculously well. They are churning out high totals with ridiculous amount of control. They're 100 for one every game. And it looks like the kind of cricket that wins tournaments. They're consistent. They are relentlessly churning out these runs in a way that
until they're 3 for bugger all, and then it won't
until they're 3 for spit, and then that's where the opposition get a brief glimpse of hope. But we've only had that once so far, and it doesn't look like happening again because their control is Gill is a classy player, obviously, and we know what Butler can do. But Sudarshan is just a revelation. His stats in this tournament are.
Has he got
remarkable.
The hat? Is he wearing the hat at the moment?
I don't actually normally pay that much attention to the hat, but yes, I think he might do. It's one of my pet peeves. I don't like the hat.
Yeah, you don't like that.
You knew there was a hat.
I knew there's a hat, and I was pretty sure that Sai Sudarshan had it at some stage this week. I don't know if he still has it today, but he did have it.
Yeah, I always find the hats an underwhelming color. They're too like they're not purple and orange. They're like mauve and a kind of crispy yellow. It's not nice. So
you want it to be more purple and more orange.
And the other quirky little thing about them, which I do really like, so they've got I'm not sure if it's coach or mentor or the exact label, but they've got Ashish Nehra on the sidelines as I'm going to say de facto coach. And he is constantly on the boundary rope talking to Gill and talking to the other members of the team. He is extremely involved and very animated and very engaged. And as someone who likes like micromanaging T20 because of my job, I quite like that he is so unwilling to just throw over responsibility to the captain. He's arguably too involved for some captains, but it seems to be working for them because, like I said,
he's a helicopter parent.
6 wins from 8 games. He's a helicopter parent. It's like that episode of Black Mirror, Archangel, if you've ever seen that. He can't let go. I have to mention telly every week. Adam told me so it's good for the algorithm.
It's a rule, so. Right? That's not it's not the one with the robot dogs.
That's the only amazingly, that has preempted a ball later in this over. So I'm going to leave that dangling there, and we're going to scoop it back up. We're going to scoop it back up in 20 minutes. I'm going to move us on to ball 2.
Yep.
Which is you may have seen this circling around the various social media sites, but there is an actual child playing in the IPL this season.
I did see this.
A 14-year-old boy, Vaibhav Suryavanshi, made his debut for Rajasthan Royals last week. Now,
did he just wander into the stadium and got lost, and they were like, "Well, this will be cheaper than buying someone you can play"?
It's cheaper than a crash. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
This is a 12-year-old who played first-class cricket a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he came into the auction last year. There was a bidding war between Rajasthan Royals and Delhi Capitals, and he eventually went for 1.1 crore, which is a lot of money for any player, or not a huge amount of money, but it's a considerable amount of money. It's a lot of money for a 14-year-old boy.
How many skateboards did he buy?
I do like to think that he spent it on like proper
Slurpees
stuff. I want it to be on PlayStation games.
He's had a Slurpee bath.
Stickers.
He doesn't have an ice bath. He has a Slurpee bath. He mixes all the flavors. They've got like 36 flavors on the back of a Slurpee truck, and he hops it.
The S&C is just losing his shit. Just like, this is not our conditioning. This is not what we should be doing. But anyway, we all slightly thought it was a bit of a PR stunt. It's a bit of our scouting's so good, we found a child and we're going to nurture him through. Well, he's playing for Rajasthan, and he's not only playing, it's classic IPL soap opera. He walks out to bat in a chase, he's opening the batting, and his first ball against Shardul Thakur, a guy who has played international cricket for India, he hits him for 6 over cover, inside out. And it's one of those moments that just goes around the world on social media. Look what this child has done. And I don't know if he's good. I'm not saying that because I don't think he is, but he made 34 off 20 balls in his first ever innings in the IPL. Maybe he's going to be an answer to a quiz question in 10 years' time. Maybe he's going to be a superstar. But it's classic IPL that it's almost so far at the extreme of what's acceptable from a safeguarding perspective, from a scouting talent perspective, from all kinds of things. It's so outside of the norm of what any other tournament would deem reasonable. Yeah. But that's what the IPL does. That's where it operates. It's in the extremes.
Yeah, when you say there's been a bidding war over a child, that is a very bad sentence, right? That's not a sentence that you normally want to follow up or find any more information about, and yet somehow, in this case, it's a good news story.
Yeah, remarkably, it's proper. Wait, just let me finish. But yes,
You need to read
so
the back of my T-shirt. Don't just read the front of my T-shirt. Yeah, okay. So that's ball two. Is that he's gone okay? He's played.
He's had one go and he's hit his first ball. He's had one go. He's hit his first ball for six, and who knows what he's going to be. But it's an exciting storyline nonetheless.
And he's made a few. And any of us would probably making 30 off 20 balls at any level would be quite happy with that. So doing it at that level, he must be okay. Ball three.
Exactly. Ball three is we're going crickety again. I'm going back into the nitty gritty nuts and bolts. Is the return of the Yorker. The Yorker is back, and it's better than ever.
Sorry.
So no, I love it. I love your whimsy. I love your singing. It's just lovely to be.
I can't help it. It's just people think it's a bit, like they think it's a thing that I do as a, like, this is my shtick. I can't help it. My brain just does it. It's like the playlist is queued, and there we go. You've seen it live, right? So cricket. Yorker's back. You're saying people have been bowling it and people haven't been scoring of it. Is this related to the Avesh Khan over? I'm aware that there's an over that he bowled that was good. This is the only thing I know.
It's not related to that. So what I wanted to focus on specifically was that the IPL has introduced lots of slightly gimmicky changes in recent years. We've had the impact player, we've had all kinds of like little tweaks and things, and we've seen it in the Big Bash and in the 100 and cricket. T20
every
cricket
team has to pick one 13-year-old child, all those kind of
exactly.
Rules,
There has to be an auction for underage players. It's great. It's a great system we've got going. Now this one is actually a good rule change, and it's, I think, improved the cricket. We all know that in the second half of games in Asia, the effect of dew is a really big thing. When it comes in, it can ruin spectacles. In the case of the 2021 World Cup, it ruined an entire tournament because it was win the toss, win the game, because it just gets too easy to bat and the bowlers can't do anything. So what they've done is they've introduced this rule in the IPL from this season that in the at the halfway point of the chase, at the 10-over mark of the chase, you can swap out the ball for a new one, in inverted commas, of a similar age, a bit like you do in Test cricket. Yeah, it's a new old ball like in Test cricket.
Yeah,
and what we've
dry
seen
ball
is that
a similarly aged, like a steak, a dry aged ball.
Yeah, it's not a problematic comparison at all, given the country the game's played in. But sure,
what's the cricket ball made of, boys? What's the cricket ball made of, fellas? What do they make that of? What's that made of?
You have blown my mind there. So what this has allowed is basically reverse swing is back, because bowlers are able to obviously keep the ball dry. And when reverse swing is in play, we all know that it just gives you margin for error as a Yorker bowler. It makes it a lot wider. You can go that a bit fuller, you can go that a bit shorter, and you're not going to get tonked. It's one of my bugbears as an analyst when I work with teams, is that bowlers go to Yorkers way more than they should at the death, because statistically you miss them far more than you hit them, and if you miss them, you go for a million.
Right.
When the ball is reversing, it's a different thing. And so as a result, we've seen run rates at the death haven't increased in the way that run rates everywhere else have. So power play scoring has gone up, middle over scoring has gone up, against pace, against spin. The only thing that's not increased is scoring against pace in the final overs of the game. And that's, I think, partly because of this rule, which is it's an example of something that I do like about the IPL and the BCCI, which is a kind of direct bluntness to solving problems. There's no kind of bureaucratic faffing about. They're just like, oh, just give them a new ball. Give them a ball that's not, the problem is the ball's wet, give them a dry ball. And they don't worry about, they'll do it with 2 days to spare before the tournament, which infuriates me at times. But it does solve the problem. And it's brought a different kind of bowler into the game. It's brought Stark back into the game at the death. It's brought Trent Boult back into the game at the death. It's brought these archetypal players that we like to see, these skills that we like to see, and it's given them a platform to perform, which I really enjoy.
Interesting. It's also interesting that you would say that the PCCI don't engage in bureaucratic faffing about. That is a very interesting interpretation.
In this very specific, there are large areas of the world, of the cricket world, where BCCI bureaucracy is obviously the main name of the game. But what they don't do, when they decide they want to do something, they just do it.
They don't for good or ill. They don't have 10 reviews about it. I see what you mean. If the decision is to be made, then that decision gets made, and that decision might be move the IPL to South Africa this year. It just happens. Okay, ball four.
It just goes. Ball four is we've talked about who's at the top of the table. We're now going to briefly talk about who's at the bottom, because we've got three teams at the bottom who have played 8 games and have won 2 matches each.
Ooh.
Which, as an analyst, I've actually
Bad.
decided that that's bad. Shouldn't do that. You should win as many games as possible. Now, those three teams, the triangle of sadness, is Sunrisers Hyderabad, Chennai Super Kings, and Rajasthan Royals. Now, there's been some good performances from players in there. Noor Ahmed's had a good season for CSK. Heinrich Klaasen's had a good season, a couple of big knocks. Sanju Samson's been pretty solid. There's been some good individual seasons. However, they've all been largely extremely unsuccessful. And in the case of Sunrisers Hyderabad, they got to the final last year, traditionally quite a successful side. Chennai, obviously, are arguably the most successful franchise in the tournament. And Rajasthan Royals were, across the last cycle, although they didn't win the IPL, they actually won the most games and had the highest win percentage. So they were very successful. But they've all just fallen off a cliff. Now, I'm not going to talk about what has happened to those teams and why they've lost.
But they had Rajasthan had Butler last year and don't have him this year, right? Making a lot of runs.
And he's churning out runs for Gujarat. So yeah, and they've got they've copped a lot of shit for that, for not retaining him, because he's been there for a long time and their batting hasn't been anywhere near really. So that aside, the reason I brought them in as my fourth ball of the over is because I like this. It's not what's happened, it's what's going to happen now. 2 wins from 8 games. You can occasionally, like RCB did last year, go on a tear and win all your remaining games and find yourself in contention. What is far more likely is that things start to get weird. People start to do really strange things in these tournaments where you're locked in a hotel for 6 weeks and you know that you can't win the tournament. It's almost like you are fulfilling your contractual obligation.
Yeah.
And that is true of everyone there, from the cricketers to the coaches to the backroom staff. They won't say it, but everyone goes into a slightly weird fugue state. And in that context, people say weird things, people do weird things, people make strange selections, players get themselves in trouble. And so what I'm doing is I'm teeing up with my fourth ball the weird shit that Sunrisers, Chennai and Rajasthan are going to do in the next few weeks.
The watching brief.
It's a watching brief because invariably there's going to be some chaos.
Okay, all right. I'm looking forward to finding out what it is. What happens when MS Dhoni finally snaps after all these years of restraint, when he just finally can't hold it in anymore at the age of 57. Ball 5?
Two balls go. This is the last serious cricket one I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear. Nobody can catch in the IPL. It's been a shocking season for fielding. The catch success rate is 75%. So 1 in 4 chances is going down. It's the lowest for any T20 league with a considerable amount of games. So every IPL ever, but also every Big Bash ever, every 100, every Blast, every league where there was catching data has a higher catching success percentage than this one. Now, I'm going to delve into the realm of hot take. Because I've been talking to some people, some journalists and people out at the IPL, and everyone's got a bit of a theory about why this is. And one that keeps coming up is that skied catches in particular are going down more often than not. The classic straight up in the air, it's gone straight up the chute, you've settled underneath it, you'd expect them to be taken. Now, what we're seeing, I think, and I've got no data to back it up, a sentence that I love saying, is that balls are going higher. Because I think batters are being more aggressive. Obviously, bats have got bigger. IPL has the impact play, which incentivizes you to swing harder and be more aggressive anyway. And I think, as a result, the ball is going higher. The wind is getting it. And we're seeing these kind of swirling, spiraling catching chances. And they're going down again and again and again and again. And it's getting to the point where, like, the relentless perma-optimism of the IPL commentary, where everything has to be presented as a positive. You take the positive route out of it. If someone gets bowled out for 19, it's the best bowling you've ever seen. That's how this works. But even the commentators have got to the point now where they're just exasperated. Like Ian Bishop, who probably my favourite commentator in world cricket, particularly in T20, there was a game the other day where a team dropped 3 catches within the space of a few overs. And by the end of it, he was, if he had any hair left, he'd be tearing it out. It was, the tone of his voice was like a disappointed father. And I think it really cut through to me because of that. But there's just something bizarre going around. I'm not sure whether it's a lack of confidence or there is a genuine technical reason for it in the way that I've briefly hot take attempted. But it's weird. It's strange. And again, it's watching brief. Maybe it's going to revert to the mean, but at the moment it feels rather peculiar.
Maybe they just need a big sort of perspex cylinder around every cricket ground to cut the wind out so that the ball doesn't swirl in the wind. Maybe this is our answer to the ball being hit high.
is that going to be? It's kind of somewhere between like an April Fool's Day article
Mm,
on Cricinfo, and on the other end of the spectrum is something that they might legitimately say they're going to do for the Saudi League when that inevitably comes. It's got that kind
yeah,
of feel to it. It's
yeah.
somewhere in between that spectrum.
I'm sure all the Saudi League stadiums will be indoors because they'll have to be air conditioned because it'll be 58 degrees outside. So once that starts,
I
we'll look
like.
forward to. We won't have any more rain interruptions when all cricket is played in the kingdom. Long may it prosper. Right, ball six. It's going to be a Yorker in the block hole to finish off the over. What have you got?
I'll be honest. All of what I've said so far is less relevant than what we're going to talk about now, which is
Okay.
that I want to talk about the IPL pet. Now, you'll be quite understandably thinking, what's the IPL pet then?
I
The
thought that
IPL
was you.
pet, Jeff, the IPL pet is a robot dog, a Boston Dynamics style robot
Oh,
dog that hangs
this
out
is
with the
creepy.
cheerleaders, and it sits on the sideline and it rocks back and forward and it looks like one of the dogs from Metalhead, Black Mirror
Mm-hmm.
episode. It is absolutely terrifying. It is I can't get it across. It's the most Adam Curtis documentary thing I've ever seen.
Mm,
It is a pretend dog that doesn't need to be there. There doesn't need to be a dog.
mm,
Someone at some point has gone, why don't we have a pet? There's probably safety issues around having a dog next to the ground or in the ground. Okay,
right.
we'll make it a robot dog. I don't understand how they've got to this point. They had a poll on one of the games, the fan polls that they have, and normally it's
Mm-hmm.
who's your favorite batter, Virat Kohli or Virat Kohli. This one was to name the dog, and there were various examples. I think it's now called Champak, which is inspired by a character in a Hindi sitcom.
Mm,
Um, and people are legitimately online, as it's a normal place to be, twitter.com or x.com, formerly known as Twitter. And people are now actively like fandoming the dog. There's like people retconning stories about the dog. People are actively defending it and saying that it's cute. It's not cute. It looks like it's going to kill us all.
mm.
It is insane. I can't articulate it. The dog is hard right. The dog is a hard right
Yeah,
activist.
sure.
It's horrifying. It looks. I dread to think what is going on in the DMs between that dog and the cheerleaders.
Mm,
There is an inherent evil about this dog, and
yeah.
I just want to be able to watch my game of cricket every evening, and it pops up and it makes me realise that I'm going to die.
Yeah, and probably at the hands or paws of this dog. I mean, the fact that people are making up stories about it and investing emotionally in it just tells me that people don't have enough to do. There is not in the world that we live in, which is just sit here and have entertainment force fed into your orifices so that you don't, overthrow the state. There's just not enough actual emotional or intellectual stimulus to do anything reasonable. But I think what really strikes me about this story is there is an incredible timeline wise, like imagine a Venn diagram, but where the circles have been stretched sideways to a horrific degree. The thing that really strikes me is that we live in a future that's sufficiently advanced that there is a robot dog, but also there are still cheerleaders. How have we reached the robot dog point of the future and we still have sporting cheerleaders on the sidelines? That is the real question that I want to know. The incongruity of that is like riding your horse to the Vietnam War. Like, there just things that should not overlap are overlapping. And that is my real issue before we get to the murderous rampage that the dog will eventually unleash with its brethren once they hatch out of the current constraints that we have them in.
It's just really weird because I would say that across my cricket watching career, which is not as long as yours, but it's a decent sample, I have never seen something on a cricket broadcast where I've thought that might kill me.
Mm,
And now I have to do it every day. And you're
yeah,
right, it is a terrifying overlap between a dystopian techno future and
yeah.
slightly peculiar gender dynamics around the cheerleaders.
Mm,
But I'll be honest, my caveman brain hasn't been able to engage in the gender discourse around it because I'm so scared. and
mm,
that's not how I like to live my life. But you can
yeah.
see why I didn't really want to linger too much on Yorkers, because there's a robot dog
That's a
at the
robot dog.
IPL.
It's a terrifying robot dog. Of course, you're probably a little too young to remember Andre Nell, who's the only other thing I can think of on a cricket field where I thought that is going to kill me at one stage. But that was a different time. The way the veins came out of his neck. But that's just a bigger target for the robot dog to aim for.
No,
So
I'm
I don't.
no, I'm seeing it now. It's Terminator, but as we all expected, the reboot of the franchise, it's a robot dog named after a
Robot
Hindi
dog.
sitcom character against Andre now.
This is
Great
the only
effort.
way it's going to work. This is our only possible saviour. Bring back Gunter. All right, those have been the six balls of the IPL. Thank you, Ben. That has been instructive, been educational, and it's instilled a level of fear in me that I wasn't expecting to have. That's it. This has been The Final Word. Ben Jones, Jeff Lemon, Adam Collins before that. If you want to get involved with the show, patreon.com/The Final Word. Out we go. We've got our interview with Wisdom editor Lawrence Booth coming up in a couple of days. Story time on the weekend after that on The Final Word. Caravan goes. Ben, we will see you on the weekly show next week for more IPL. Thank you. Thank you, everybody listening. Thanks to Maurice Blackburn, Odin Mortgage and Tax, and everybody out there in the world who likes the game of cricket. Or if you don't, it's really weird that you're still here at the end of this podcast. That's us. Final Word. See you later.